This year the roses have just been gorgeous, and we've got a lot of good roses to choose from here at Anderson Seed and Garden. I've got some great colors and some beautiful, just some beautiful flowers that smell really good. But I'm going to show you a couple tricks today how to keep your roses looking good throughout the summertime, and actually how to prune them so that they continue blooming. So best thing to have is a good sharp pruner, and we're going to take a look at this rose right here. This one's called Opening Night. Very pretty red rose, and it's also got a little bit of a fragrance, so a really nice rose, very prolific in the garden. It'll produce a lot of flowers, and of course this one's got 1, 2, 3, 4, it's got 5 buds on it right now, but there's some things that I see on this rose that need to be fixed, and then I'll show you how to prune some of these spent flowers as well too. So down here in the bottom we've got a couple of canes that just aren't going like they ought to, and it's really best to take these out on a rose bush. So if you're looking at your roses throughout the summertime and you see some canes that just really aren't performing like they should, or starting to look a little bit diseased, that's when you want to get in there and prune those out. So we've got 2 canes, one right here. I always like to prune back to a leaf bud, and try and do it on a 45-degree angle. So you want your pruners to be on a 45-degree angle in relationship to the stem that's coming up. You always want to prune back to about 1/4 of an inch above the bud, and I like to prune on that 45-degree angle with the angle pointing in the same direction as the bud. So I just cut that piece out right there. See how it's looking kind of shriveled and dried up? That's just a piece that needs to come out, but we trim back to nice green, clean tissue right there. So that should really help and encourage the rose to grow some more. There's the bud that I cut back to. You can see there's about 1/4 of an inch. Hopefully you can get in there and see. About 1/4 of an inch above that bud on a 45-degree angle is where I prune that out. And I'm going to prune this one right here as well too, because it doesn't look very good also. Let's do a little bit of maintenance pruning while we're thinking about it. Now, during the summer, to keep your roses blooming and keep them flowering all the time, you really want to prune out flowers that have pretty much finished blooming. So we've got some new buds that are just starting to open up on this one. We've got some buds that are just finishing up, and it's kind of nice to trim those and bring them inside. But what you're really looking for is 5 leaflet leaves. Roses always produce 5 leaflet leaves. If you can see right there, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 leaves on that leaflet that's coming off the rose. To prune them and to encourage some more flowers, you want to go back about 5 leaflet leaves and prune there. So we've got 5 leaflets right here. This is the first leaf that has 5 leaflets on it. The one up above it, just right above it, it only has 3. So we're going to count back from the first 5 leaflet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to prune back to this 5th 5 leaflet leaf. Same instructions as taking that cane out. 1/4 of an inch above the leaflet on a 45-degree angle, pointing in the same direction as the leaflet. I'm going to prune right there. And so we're going to take that flower bud out, and from here on it's going to produce more flowers coming off this rose. So it's really important that you get in there and you cut your spent flowers so it'll encourage more growth and keep the roses looking good through the summertime, and then they'll really produce flowers for you in the fall. And you can trim them back a little bit farther if you think you need to prune back a little bit farther, but you want to do at least a minimum of 5 leaflet leaves, and that's where you want to prune it. To keep them blooming, not only do we need to prune, but we need to fertilize, and that fertilizer is what's going to encourage new growth to come out. Where that new growth comes out, that's where those roses are going to form. And so make sure and use your rose food with systemic. Fertilum's got a great one. Rose food with systemic, we use 1/4 of a cup per rose once a month throughout the whole summertime. So usually I'll do one in May, do one in June, do one in July, do one in August, and then we're done for the year. So 1/4 of a cup of the rose and flower food from Fertilome will keep your roses blooming and looking really good throughout the summertime, and also will control insects. So that systemic insecticide is absorbed up through the root system, spreads through the rose, lasts in the rose for usually about 4 to 6 weeks. So that's why we like to do it every month, because that fertilizer and that systemic lasts about 6 weeks, and if we do it a little bit more frequently, it'll kind of keep the rose producing flowers and also control those insects. If you have some outbreaks of insects or diseases, which we can have, especially when we have a lot of humidity and we have really cold nights or cool nights and warm days, we start to see powdery mildew. Also see a lot of aphids and other problems. The 2-in-1 systemic drench from Fertilome is excellent because it controls diseases as well as insects, and you just mix it up in water the rose with it. You can actually get it on the leaves as well as water the plant with it, let it absorb it up through the root system and also through the leaves, and it'll control insects and diseases for about 6 weeks also. And then if you just have a quick outbreak of insects, the new high yield systemic insect spray, excellent for controlling all kinds of insects, root weevils that attack roses, aphids, caterpillars, any type of insect that are attacking your roses, or even other flowers and shrubs and ornamentals. The systemic insect spray from High Yield does a great job. So the key to really keeping your roses looking good throughout the summer is to make sure do your maintenance pruning at least every couple of weeks, and be sure and fertilize monthly to keep those roses healthy and blooming and looking good all summer long.